Wow, companies are literally getting really, really smart. And I'm wondering, like, was this the plan all along? I mean, seriously, guys, right? So many companies were struggling to get employees to come back in the office. Workers wanted to continue to work remotely. And I actually read this article recently. I don't know if it was on LinkedIn or one of these job search websites, Indeed or something like that. But long and short of it, it said something like, and I don't know if this was like for like a region of the United States or if this was like for like all of the United States, but basically it said that out of all of the remote work jobs on their platform, and again, and I don't know if this is like a region of the United States or for the whole platform, but it was saying that 15% of the jobs available were remote jobs, which means 85% were in office jobs. You couldn't work remotely, right? But the interesting metric was that 50% of the applications or resume submissions that they were receiving were all going toward the 15% of remote jobs, meaning that basically more than half of people, every other person who was applying for a job, excuse me, every other person that was applying for a job was trying to get one of these remote jobs. And so this means that the remote work opportunities was getting really, really competitive. And so I thought that was a very interesting metric. Basically, there's a lot of these jobs that are going away. Now, the impact that this is going to have on real estate is tremendous, right? Because there's a lot of cities that actually became boom towns for these remote workers. And unfortunately, a lot of companies are now having their employees come back into the office. Now, this is going to have a huge impact on real estate prices, rent prices, just the overall demand in these particular cities. And if you guys want to know this full list of cities, you can hit me up in the comment section down below. Maybe I'll leave a future pinned comment or something like that if you want to know what these 10 cities were, the top 10 cities where most of these remote workers were moving to. Because here's the thing. If you happen to live in one of these cities where, a significant segment or percentage of people who live there now ended up moving there because they suddenly had the ability to work remotely, and then all of a sudden they lose that ability to work remotely, there's probably going to be a lot of people leaving, unless they're able to land new jobs in these cities, where they now live. But think about it. Let's just say that, for every person that used to be able to work remotely that recently moved, suddenly loses that opportunity. If they're not able to land a new remote job, then they're going to likely consider leaving. And if everybody starts leaving, then what do you think is going to happen with housing prices, right? So, and of course, this is going to have a significant impact on rentals and vacancies. That would definitely impact landlords and could ultimately drive rental prices down if the competition and demand were to subside. So, a couple of different factors that are happening there. But here's what I think is really interesting, because I observe like what some of these companies are doing. And one of the things that I observed that these companies had done was they allowed people to work from home. They allowed people to work remotely for a substantial period of time, to a point where people believed that they were going to be able to do this forever. And why would you not? When the company says, hey, you can work remotely, we've updated our policies. We understand that, the company can still function and do very, very well while working remotely. In fact, many of these companies were hitting their highest and most profitable quarters. So it's like, hey, in spite of this new way of working remotely, the company is actually more profitable than it ever has been, right? Why would people think that they would suddenly lose that opportunity, that privilege, for lack of a better term, to continue to work remotely, right? To work from home. So anyway, if you guys have noticed, and I'm pretty sure you have, you guys are smart. You guys have been following the channel for a minute. Many of these companies are working very, very hard to bring these employees back into the office. And as expected, most employees do not want to do that. Most employees want to spend more time with their families. Most employees want the ability to save hundreds, if not thousands of hours not commuting to work. Commuting to work is one of the greatest wastes of time, period. The average person commuting to work probably commutes about 45 minutes, an hour one way. So if you're wasting an hour one way and you work 5 days a week, you're wasting 10 hours a week. You're wasting 40 hours a month. You've literally worked for free for a week just going to work, just getting your butt to work, right? So it's a huge waste of time. This is a whole 40 hours away from your family or from whatever activity you could have otherwise been doing. Heck, I'd rather have an extra 40 hours of sleep rather than wasting 40 hours commuting to work, right? But I digress. Not to mention how much money you're wasting in the commute, additional wear and tear in your vehicle. And I don't know how much you make per hour, but just imagine, let's just say you make, I don't know, $40 an hour. So you make $40 an hour, maybe let's just say $50 an hour for easy math, right? So you make $50 an hour and then you're having to commute, 5 days a week, 40 hours per month. So you're losing out on an extra, $2,000 just in commuting for free. You know what I'm saying? Because you're not getting paid for that commute. So let's just say your gas costs you, let's just say gas costs you for a week, maybe $100. So between your $100 of gas, actually no, because that's $100 a week. So then that's $400 a month in gas, right? So let's just say you spend $400 a month commuting in gas, not to mention added wear and tear on your vehicle. So you're going to have to get oil changes sooner. Brakes going to have to get swapped out sooner. New tires sooner. CV axles are wearing out sooner. There's like all these things that wear out faster as you're driving more, right? So let's just say an extra $500 a month between gas and premature maintenance on your car. And then if you make, $50 a month or $50 per hour, you're literally spending an extra, between not being compensated for this commuting, about $2,500 a month lost. And then what is that per year? That's like $30,000 a year that you're losing by having to commute where you were able to do your job just as well not commuting, right? And then it's even dumber for those who have to commute to an office and then, half the team's not even in that office. Or, if you're in the IT field, I know so many different people who are in IT who manage systems that are not even in the office that they commute to. So it's like, look, you drive from your house to an office to manage systems that are still remote, right? It's just the dumbest thing in the world. But here's the thing that actually is brilliant and is very, very just slick that these companies are doing. So these companies, they give people these work from home privileges for a period of time long enough to get comfortable, right? And then what do? What they do is they might want to let some people go for whatever reason. Maybe they're concerned about the recession coming. Maybe they feel that they could hire new people at a cheaper rate. So what do? Well, they create a situation where you end up offing yourself. So not like literally, but figuratively. But in some way, you're actually doing it yourself, right? So here's the thing. A lot of people who were forced to come back into the office, it was a drastic thing. Like they went from working from home to all of a sudden, 5 days a week they were working from home to all of a sudden, the company now wants us to come in the office 4 or 5 days a week. Well, a lot of people are going to push back on that, right? Well, some companies did something slightly different. Some companies said, hey, we want to keep our employees. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this boil the frog effect. And basically what that is we're going to have the people come back in the office. Hey, guys, we're just going to come back in 1 day a week. We see a lot of benefit to, person-to-person interaction, whatever kind of BS and corporate culture bull crap they want to give you, right? We see a lot of value in having you guys come back in the office. So we're just going to come back in once a week, right? And so they do that, right? And then like 3-4 months later, hey guys, we're seeing a lot of benefit to this. So we're just going to add 1 more day. It's 2 days a week, right? And so no one's happy about this, right? or like 5% of the employees like coming in the office, right? But this conversation is not really for them. So most people are like, nah, I'm not happy about this, but it's one day. So do you quit your job over having to come in the office for one day? Probably not, right? Unless you know of an opportunity you could easily slide into that lets you continue to work 5 days a week remotely, right? So most people are just going to suck it up, deal with it, not be happy, and just show up for that one day a week, right? But here's the thing. Once you've done that for 3-4 months, you kind of like accepted it. Human behavior is basically like, all right, it is what it is, that kind of thing. And you just get comfortable again, right? Well, month 4, company says, hey, we're going to add one more day. So now you're at 2 days a week. You're equally unhappy, probably slightly more unhappy than you were the first time because it's even more of your time being consumed and sucked up and given to this company, right? And so now you're there 2 days a week, right? You deal with it. 3, 4, 5 months goes by. Company says, hey, we're seeing a lot of benefit to everybody coming in, corporate culture, da, 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 da. They lie to you. And then they push for this third day, right? Now, this is a pivotal moment, right? Because now if you accept this third day, you have now crossed the 50% mark for showing up and being physically in the office every single day. And so now the company literally has you by the balls at this 50. This is a pivotal moment. This is a crucial decision you have to make, because once you're here, now it becomes significantly easier for them to get you to come in that 4th day and then back to that 5 days a week. And now you're back in the full force of the grind and you're hating life to the same level you were hating it before. And so this is what companies have done. However, companies have also executed another type of strategy. And a lot of people didn't see this coming. In fact, I didn't see it coming until I saw it happen, right? So then this other strategy is basically, the companies let you work remotely and they let you enjoy that privilege for a long period of time, many, many months, if not years, right? Well, if they wanted to get rid of employee headcount or whatever, what they have done and what they're doing is they're literally saying, hey, we need you guys to come in the office 3 days a week from zero. So you used to not have to come into work at all. Now, all of a sudden, boom, come into the office 3 days a week, right? Now, this is going to piss a lot of people off. This is not just adding one day. It is literally adding 60% of the work week, bringing it back in just a snap of a finger. What do they hope to achieve? Well, they hope that a lot of people will take themselves out. Companies don't want the black eye of having to lay people off. That doesn't make the company look good. It's going to affect their stock price. It's generally assumed that if a company is laying people off, they're probably not doing very well financially. So, of course, if the company happens to be on the stock market, S&P 500 company, whatever, NASDAQ, whatever, it's definitely going to have a negative impact on the stock. So no CEO wants that. But if they can create an environment where they make it so that people want to leave, like, hey, all of a sudden you got to come in 3 days a week and you used to be able to work from home, take care of your own kids, not have to put your kid in daycare, not have to get up an extra hour and a half just to get to work. By the time you get home, it's freaking dark. A lot of different things. There's so many negatives that come from this waste of time commute. That if they say you have to come in 3 days a week from not having to come in at all, they know that there's going to be a significant percentage of the workforce that's going to be like, nah, screw this, I'm out. So now they've created an environment where instead of having to lay people off and have to worry about the negatives associated with that, not to mention the unemployment benefits that they're going to end up paying out, they don't want to have to fire people and have to deal with the legal obligations or legal risks associated with that. Hey, let's just create an environment where it's uncomfortable and they take themselves out. They quit. Now, if you quit, hey, we don't have to pay you severance. We don't have to pay you unemployment insurance. We don't have to worry about the backlash of possibly firing people or laying them off. That's freaking brilliant. But unfortunately, people are getting burned left and right by this particular strategy that's being executed. And so this is literally driving people to have to make some very, very tough decisions. Do you live a life of unhappiness away from your family, that you have grown accustomed to, and a lot of people didn't realize how much of their family life that they have been not a part of by being away from their family 50, 60 hours a week. It's unbelievable. Most parents in the workforce never really get to see their kids, never get to see the kids grow up, never spend any time with them. They're so busy working. They can't attend any sporting events that the kids might be a part of. I've never, really been able to be a part of my kids' basketball games or baseball games, soccer games. It's why? Because you're always freaking at work. Well, folks, if you don't make some changes, you may find yourself in that same situation. But drop me some comments down below. Let me know what you guys were thinking. I know a lot of people have literally found themselves in a situation and decided to create their own opportunities for themselves, start their own home-based businesses, side hustles, ways to generate multiple streams of income to replace the income that their traditional job used to pay for, because they realize that traditional work is just not a good fit for them anymore. But let me know what you guys think about this. Is this something that you guys are working on? Are you facing anything like that? Do you know anyone who's dealing with any situation like that? A lot of spouses, married couples, have found that their relationships have gotten better by actually being able to spend time with their spouse. Whereas normally both spouses are working 40, 50, 60 hours a week. They don't even get a chance to see each other except maybe on the weekends if their schedules happen to be in sync. And if not the weekends, because maybe their schedules are not in sync, like some people work retail and, hey, I don't get to see my spouse on the weekends like most people because they're working on the weekend. Like most retail workers never get weekends off, And so when do you get to see your spouse? Only when you take vacation. Most people only get 2 weeks of vacation. And if you're lucky, 3. So out of 52 weeks a year, you're only getting a chance to hang out with your family for 2 to 3 weeks. It's pretty effed up.